Most people in the crypto space never used to believe that Ethereum could be outplayed. It was the dominant layer one during the last bullish cycle. It sucked up all of the liquidity in the crypto ecosystem, and no one believed that it would ever lose market share. Fast forward to today, we're in 2024, and a new, younger contender is breaking rank. We've got Solana now sucking up all of the liquidity in the crypto ecosystem. It's this mammoth single-state machine that can operate at blindingly quick speeds without needing to rely on layer 2 infrastructure. And the same thing is kind of repeating. As Solana is continuing to suck up liquidity during this cycle, many or very few believe that a new contender could come into the layer 1 market and start to take away market share. But I think personally it would be foolish to not think that the same thing could repeat. So in today's video, I want to dive into what many are calling a Solana-Killer. This is a network that packs a massive punch when it comes to speed and also flexibility and also future vision, but can it pack the same punch in terms of an investment? So it's time to take a look at the network known as SUI. If you enjoy this video, please hit the like button down below. I would also love to have you as a subscriber of the channel, and if you don't want to miss out on any future videos that are posted, hit the bell notification icon too. And if you're looking for a source of information, a crypto ally in the minefield of information that is out there, I put out my 80/20 crypto newsletter, one email per week, which covers all of the key signals from the week, as well as altcoin deep dives such as this. So if that's of interest to you, I'll leave a link to the newsletter down below. And with all of that being said, let's dive into the world of SUI. Okay, so SUI is a proof of stake layer 1 blockchain with the aim, as stated on their website here, to deliver the benefits of Web3 with the ease of Web 2. And the team at SUI believes that the ease of Web 2 comes with two things, namely speed and flexibility. Now, in test environments, SUI has clocked over 290,000 transactions per second. In fact, we can see here that it's 297,000 transactions per second, which is impressive considering that Solana, minus this Fire Dancer validator client that is upcoming, is currently sitting at 65,000 transactions per second. So with this speed and flexibility, which we'll come to shortly, it is aimed at being the go-to blockchain for those building Web3 applications in a few main industries in particular. The ones that need Web 2 internet-like speeds. And in particular, it's focused on finance, the industry of finance, gaming, and also the commerce industries. So what does SUI do? How does it work? Well, starting with SUI speed, one of the ways that SUI is able to handle so many transactions is through a technique known as parallel processing. And this is embedded within this mysticity, low latency consensus mechanism. If we scroll down, we can see here that mysticity achieves unprecedented transaction speeds and reduces CPU requirements for validators. By significantly decreasing in complexity and optimizing resource use, SUI can handle tens of thousands of transactions per second with latencies well below 1 second. Latency for owned object transactions can be even lower due to SUI's unique parallel transaction processing. Long story short, instead of blockchains or blocks following one after the other like they would in a normal blockchain, transactions here can be processed in parallel. That's the key thing here, and that's what enables SUI to process transactions so quickly. And then venturing outside of speed, one of SUI's unique characteristics is that it leverages a brand new programming language called Move. So this is a language that was also designed to help with common errors in coding. So the idea being that if the language can help with common errors in coding, then therefore there would be less errors overall in the blockchain. And then finally, to branch out and compete with other layer 1 blockchains like Solana, there are three other features that I think that are worth mentioning in this, like how does SUI operate and what is it working on? The first of these is ZK logins, and these allow end users to sign into decentralized applications, so the ones that we're familiar with in the industry, but you can do that and sign into them using a Web 2 login, like Google or like a Facebook, as you can see here on the screen. And you can do this without revealing any of your private key data. And this is a huge thing potentially for onboarding end users into the world of blockchain and crypto and Web3. If people can log in with the usual platforms that they use, whether it's Google, Facebook, Windows, whatever, Microsoft, then they are more likely to adopt the technology. So that's quite an exciting feature from SUI. And then we need to talk about SUI Play OX1. And this is involving their venture into the gaming space. So similar to Solana, it's building its own hardware, this time focused on gaming. And as we can see here, we've got a quick hype video for the piece of hardware that's being launched apparently next year. And people can now pre-order this piece of hardware. But Venturing along the similar lines to the Solana Mobile, we've seen Solana launch the Solana Mobile, first with the Saga and now bringing out the Seeker. SUI are following in their footsteps, but instead of going after mobile phone technology, they are going after gaming. Looks very similar to like a PSP kind of device. And then the final thing I want to mention in this section is that it's also developing a Fire Dancer equivalent piece of software called Pilotfish. And that should help SUI, the blockchain, scale with the number of machines that are in the network. So this could be seriously future-proofing it in terms of scalability. And we've already seen that hype and excitement around Fire Dancer and its relationship to Solana and what that can do for the Solana ecosystem in the future. So much excitement about that and what it can do. Well, SUI has its own piece of software in the works to try and do something similar. Now let's talk about SUI's history. So the birth of the SUI network was forged out of the flames of another crypto project. And this was a project originally known as Libra, and then it changed to DM. And this was Facebook's first venture into the crypto space, but it was eventually shut down in 2022 for regulatory reasons. However, undeterred, a group from Facebook employees, established what is now known as Miston Labs. And these are the developers behind the SUI blockchain. They decided to continue to build on the work that they already completed with this DM stablecoin. I don't know a massive amount of about DM and Libra, but I believe it was a stablecoin they were working on. But they took that work, brought it over, and some of the employees set up and established SUI. So with Miston Labs working in the background, the SUI testnet was eventually launched in August of 2022. And that was quickly then followed by the launch of SUI's mainnet in May of 2023. And as we can see here, Miston Labs aren't just working on SUI, they were also working on other protocols. So Walrus, a decentralized storage and data availability protocol. We've got Move, the native programming language of SUI, which we've already mentioned. DeepBook, DeFi foundation that unlocks financial innovation, Inoki, and Kiosk. So there are a few aspects and protocols that Miston Labs are working on, but SUI is the main. And then along the way, over time, the project has picked up significant VC funding from the likes of A16Z, Jump Crypto, Binance Labs, and also Coinbase Ventures. And then most recently, we have seen the SUI team establish partnerships with Formula One's Red Bull Racing. It's a huge collaboration, apparently a multi-year deal. So the SUI team haven't wasted time in terms of forming those partnerships and getting SUI's name out into the wider audience. Next up, we come to SUI, which is the native coin of the SUI network, so SUI, and it holds 4 use cases in terms of the SUI network. First is it can be staked in the network to help secure the network and support daily operations. SUI is also then the coin needed for gas fees and also storage fees that take place on the network. It can also then be used to provide liquidity in the ecosystem. And then finally, SUI token holders can vote also on the future development of the network. So there are 4 key purposes, use cases for the SUI coin, which is good to see. And as we can see on here, the total supply of SUI is capped at 10 billion coins. So the market cap of SUI currently stands at $5.2 billion, placing it in the large cap category of altcoins. This is the large cap coin. Out of that maximum supply of 10 billion, we can see here that only 2.7 billion are currently in circulation. So there is over 70% of coins still left to hit the market. And then in terms of the distribution of these coins, when it was first launched, the 10 billion SUI coins were distributed 50% allocated to the community reserve, 20% to early contributors, 14% to investors, 10% to the Miston Lab treasury, and then 6% to SUI's community access program. And of course, we've got the price on the chart right here. So currently, at the time of recording this video, we've got SUI at $1.91, which is nearly at all-time high levels. We had all-time highs just above $2 back in March of this year, and we are nearly approaching that level. And then if we switch to market cap, interestingly, we are now at all-time highs for market cap, but because of the introduction of new supply of the SUI coins, we are, although at a higher market cap, we are still at the same price as we were back in March. And that's interesting, and we'll loop back to that later when we look at the upsides and the risks. And that's the section that we've come to now. We need to take a look at the upsides and the risks. What could be driving demand for the SUI coin in order for it to rise in value, or what could strip that demand away or increase the supply so that the price of the SUI token falls to zero. And starting with the upside, SUI is argued to be the next evolution in terms of blockchains. It's viewed as the blockchain to change the game, much like Solana did during the last cycle. And while there is competition in terms of other layer ones that are also offering kind of Web 2-like speeds, there aren't that many contenders in the same kind of pool and the same level as SUI, especially when you consider the gaming hardware that will be launching in 2025, some of the also unusual and unique initiatives that it's searching for. So it is trying to differentiate itself from others in the crowd. With regard to on-chain activity on SUI has been climbing. And when we compare it to different chains on Artemis Terminal, where I am right now, we can see that for daily active addresses, it is currently in third place, just after Solana is leading the way near protocol. And then there's a big drop to the next level, and that is being led by SUI, but it's ahead of the BNB chain. We can also see on DeFi Llama that despite the summer downturn that we've seen in the altcoin market, the total value locked on the SUI network has exploded over the last 45 to 50 days, starting down at, we were back at $350 billion locked in SUI only a month and a half ago, start of August, and we are now at all-time highs, approximately just over $1 billion in a very short window, and it's now at all-time highs for total value locked, which would suggest that the SUI network is being utilized. And then next we come to the comparison stage, I guess, when we compare it to the likes of other layer 1 blockchains that have done well in the past. And we have the perfect example in Solana. So if SUI can scale to the same market cap that Solana holds today, which very few thought that Solana would be able to do that, but it did. And if SUI can do the same, the price per SUI would need to increase to $25 per SUI coin, and that's a 13x from where we are right now. That's with the market cap of Solana today. With its all-time market cap, the price of SUI would be at $32, which is a 17x from today's prices. So those are the upsides, but what are the risks to SUI now? What could strip the demand for SUI or overinflate the supply to cause a price crash? And the first thing that I would say in here is that this is another layer 1 in a very, very saturated layer 1 market. Its closest competitors are the likes of Solana, Aptos, Sei. All three of these are focused on providing really, really high speeds and high throughput and would be applicable to the same industries that SUI is trying to target. So SUI will need to outmaneuver all of these networks to accumulate market share and take market share away from these contenders, which is a tough ask, especially with Solana's dominance at the moment. Decentralization is also another worry for the network, and it has been flagged in previous videos that I've seen and also blog posts. And it's because there is currently only 108 total validators operating this network. And that's partially because you need so many SUI coins in order to become a validator, but the number is quite low, especially in comparison to the likes of Solana, which is currently operating with over 2,000, in fact, 2,410 validators when I was researching this video, which is a considerable difference. Next, I want to come back to this Move programming language. So what SUI is trying to achieve here is impressive, but the fact remains that this is relatively untested technology. We have seen problems with premium blockchains such as Solana in the past. They've gone down, they've had outages. So if adoption continues to increase on the SUI network, the use of the likes of parallel processing and this Move programming language will be put to the real test. That hasn't really been tested too much. And if there are any outages, that will cause a decrease in the value of SUI. And then, like many other altcoin projects, one of the biggest risks with SUI is this token inflation, which is crazy for this project. So there's approximately 73% still left to hit circulation. And if demand isn't there to meet that new supply, the price of SUI will have no option but to fall. Over the next 12 months, for example, the number of SUI coins will nearly double. And then finally, the other thing to take into account here is that the price of SUI is now only just below its previous all-time high levels. So it's at $1.90. It peaked previously in March of $2. That means that the risk to reward profile for an entry now into SUI is not as strong as it was, for example, even just a month and a half ago, back in August. We have seen a massive run up. We've seen a big spike in volume, huge volumes in comparison to what we've seen throughout its history. So there is no doubt that if you were to go out today and buy it, at least at the time of making this video, you would be buying into hype. And there we have the Solana-Killer, that is SUI. Is it a Solana-Killer? And if so, should it be added to an altcoin shortlist? Is this one that you should be considering? As always, my own personal opinions on altcoins like this are shared and saved for my 80/20 newsletter subscribers. So if you do want my own personal opinions and views on altcoins such as this in the future, that is the place to head to. One email per week. And as I mentioned, we go through all of the key fundamentals from the week before so that we can tee ourselves up for the week ahead, and also go through altcoin deep dives such as this. The SUI network is a really, really impressive project. I really like what they are trying to achieve. I do think that we need Web 2 speed in order for adoption to happen. I think the ZK login feature, where we can log into decentralized apps through Web 2 logins, that would be amazing to see across all blockchains. I think the venture into gaming hardware is a bit of a risk, but we've seen it pay off with the Solana mobile. That could be really interesting. I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens there in terms of the launch next year. But what do you think? Tell me what you think. Do you think SUI holds good potential, at least in terms of an investment, but also the technology? Do you think this is going to be the next stage in terms of blockchain evolution? If it is, do you think then the SUI coin holds good investment potential? And do you think it could do what Solana did during the last crypto bull run? All that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you've taken some value away from it. Please remember to do your own research in any cryptocurrency or altcoin that you're thinking about investing in. And I will see you in the next one.